Hey, folks, let's get this show on the road. Time after time, we hear the same thing. Who's running apps on MeteorJS? The quickest way for you to see this is to visit the showcase page at Meteor Software, which is at meteor.com/showcase. But here's the thing: showcase apps, they're cherry picked, which isn't good enough for most of us. So we pulled out 7 lesser known sites that you may want to check out for yourselves if you're interested in finding inspiration for something to build, or you just want to assure yourself that your MeteorJS app, if you were to make it, and their famous reactivity, well, any Meteor app that you see, does hold up under live traffic. So with that, we're going to get to it right after the news. Okay? And this is episode 80. Can you believe it? 80 episodes so far. This is episode 80 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. My name is Alim, streaming to you live from New York City. We have here...
Hello, everybody. Jan Dvorak, aka Storyteller CZ, coming to you live from Prague.
And we have...
Muted.
We're not hearing you, Jan.
Oh my god! Yeah, I was already watching some wild apps running around, but that's for later. I know. Sorry, Jan Küster here from Germany. Hi.
And with that, as we always do, we'll get straight into the news. So, storytelling.
Yes, this is more of like a follow-up from last week when we actually did some vibe coding. We've created like a leaderboard application, pretty much about everybody, 400,000 other developers have done before us. So it was pretty easy, straightforward. You can check it out on GitHub. You have the links here available. And the only thing different from what we've seen on the show, at the end, after the show, I asked the LLM to do kind of change the theme to be more cosmic. And it took it, just say very broadly. I meant like, just the look, but it took the entire theme. So we ended up with a cosmic leaderboard of cosmic discoveries and all that stuff. So check it out. We'll probably be building on top of that for some other testing and fun later on. And it can also kind of serve, with the coding instructions and similar as a good starting point for you as well.
So what were some of the experiences that you had with this? Like, was it very expensive in terms of usage?
So this is a mistake that I did not write down the number of credits I've started on and how much it took. So I can only estimate, and I'm guessing no more than 300 credits were used, probably a lot less than that, even half, but I just want to be super conservative in this regard. And actually, starting on the 8th, when my credits renew, I will be much more observant of those metrics, because that will be something that I will be using to evaluate other tools as well.
Is there anything that you did that helped keep the cost down, or that others might want to try in the future?
So the only thing to kind of add here, always remember to include some sort of coding rules and instructions for the LLM. Each coding editor has a bit different memory or ways to put it into the memory of the LLM. So always check on that. Otherwise, it can go on big tangents, and it can start adding to stuff there. So you want a JavaScript application, but if you don't have the coding rules, everything in the middle, it can suddenly decide to start coding in Python. So that's something a bit more extreme example, but you will have similar things when it wants to start adding things that it should not.
You know, Kuster, I think you've got some feelings about this. I think it was pretty good exercise that we did last week, right? But you didn't consider this vibe coding, and you also say that vibe coding, well, it's not quite what we do.
I mean, it's interesting that there is, at the exact time I got these thoughts and feelings around vibing around, there was already somebody, the Sergey Tselovalnikov, wrote on his blog, there is no vibe engineering. And now maybe people might ask, like, vibe coding is all around now. What's vibe engineering? And everybody's freaking out because of FUD in our open future, and will we be affected and things. And this article is a great read, giving you some clarity back about our actual jobs as software engineers, and where vibe coding as a paradigm, as a programming technique fits in. And for me, it was very joyful to read this, because he puts this really into the right perspective, where the AI generated code is just a piece of the greater puzzle, and we still have to make decisions about scaling and how our code will evolve, and that won't change soon. We will still make these decisions. It's also because there is the final question: are we comfortable with fully automated AI generated apps to be trusted? And I think currently we clearly say no. Do we? I mean, no one of us would say clearly yes. I can't imagine. I mean,
I think, Jan, it was you or somebody else. I think it might have been on LinkedIn, saying that you're going to charge, what was it, like €1,000 per hour if you have to debug and run with vibe coded code.
I stole that argument from Kelly, actually, because
Kelly, it was Kelly, yes.
It was Kelly, and then I was just posting this on LinkedIn. I was thinking, like, hey, let's just put some rage bait out there and see who's responding. Yeah, I was. But I think the people got it, that it was just sarcasm, with the 1K an hour. But why not unvibing your code base, devibing your code base,
Well, I think the biggest test comes, okay, who is going to go on call with services that have been vibe coded? That I think was the argument exactly in this article. And it has, because I was, really I love talking about this. There was a really nice comparison that you kind of hinted at, that I kind of want to bring up more, was that a lot of the engineering and coding decisions happen, really early on when it comes to validation input, thinking about scaling, all those things, so that you can make the decisions early on, so that you don't have to kind of revise that and change things later on, or kind of like on the right side of the equation when it's more expensive. And problem with vibe coding is that everything is later on the right side of the equation when it's super expensive to change things.
So the decisions, that's the essence. The decisions in order to scale software and make it maintainable and make it extendable and so on, the whole collaborative nature, this remains currently still your part, because that you are the engineer, so you have to do that, right?
Yeah. Well, we keep hearing that vibe coding will eliminate jobs, and that's, I think, the big scare, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that we're getting here. Listen, that session we had last week was pretty impressive to me. And I think we were all impressed by what we actually got out of it. I don't think we expected it to turn out as good as it did. And even today, I mean, companies like Anthropic, NVIDIA, Salesforce, Google, and even Bill Gates himself, they're all predicting that the developer labor force is basically on life support. But here's what we didn't get, and I think these are the things that you pointed out just now. We didn't get automatic unit tests, and we didn't get source commits. If it's really that smart, right, it should know to do these things. So these are elements of the craft, if you will, that the vibe coding just didn't include. It wasn't entirely batteries included, everything out of the box, right? Or everything was in the box. We didn't get a CI/CD pipeline. We got some code, but as Gustav pointed out, it's not software engineering. We're not there yet. There was a claim in a report that came out not too long ago, the Microsoft Work Trend Report 2025, I think it's called, that offers some hope to software professionals. But it's and let me go back over here because I'm not doing my my directing stuff that I should be doing, right? And so this is the report. You probably should go and take a good look at it. It might be worth your time. But it says that there's hope. There's still hope, but really only for those people that are interested in taking on AI skills. So it says that 66% of leaders say they wouldn't hire anyone without AI skills, and 71% said they'd rather hire less experienced candidates with AI skills than a more experienced candidate that didn't have them. So this is I think a little disturbing to read and hear about. This report, by the way, if you're interested, is a joint effort by Microsoft and LinkedIn teams based on a survey of 31,000 people across 31 countries. Labor and hiring trends on LinkedIn, trillions of Microsoft 365 productivity signals, and research with Fortune 500 customers. So that's a quote from the report. It says, contrary to popular opinion, AI is creating job opportunities. However, execs have highlighted an insufficiency of talented workers with an AI aptitude to fill vacancies. And consequently, tech giants are reporting a 142-time increase in LinkedIn members adding AI skills like Copilot and ChatGPT to their profiles. But it's not clear to me whether or not these are existing developers or a mix of those and new experts. Are we finding that there are generalists out there that are coming in and adding those in and basically becoming prompt engineers? But I got to say, the thing that was really, and it struck me as very funny recently, and you guys might have seen this too, was that report that came out recently. It was a story that came out that said that there was some guy that was vibe coding with Cursor AI. And at some point, Cursor AI says, it stops and it says, I can't do any more for you. I can't do your work for you. You have to use your skills. Like, this is not going to help you like build your skills. And it just wouldn't go any further. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure whether or not this is some kind of moral sense that the tool had, or it was just the fact that this guy was using the free version. And basically, this was a nice way of the AI saying, listen, you're not getting any more without me getting paid, right? I mean, even the robots want to get paid. So, you've got these executives that are sitting around thinking like, oh, we're going to get like a lot of free work or a lot of really reduced rate work, by using these things. But, even the robots, man.
Already start of the uprising, Alim.
It is. The AI is pushing back already, right? So it's very interesting to see how this is playing out right now.
Yeah, I think not like another thing, given that recently I had more seen kind of how the bacon is made, how the meat is made in some of these corporations. And if you can really easily replace your programmers with AI, then I have to really question how you were hiring your programmers up to that point, or what is the kind of a work that you are building. That not saying that a lot of also what I've seen is a lot of programmers also kind of tends to kind of get stuck into the 9 to 5 and kind of atrophy, in their skills, or they just get super focused on that. And then when this comes, which was like another story with somebody, they just ignore it and they get surprised with with new things that come around.
Listen, I could see a scenario where it is used very well. For instance, when we're talking about companies that are built on like long-running applications, the Facebooks, for instance, of the world, right, where your entire business is digital, I think you're probably going to exercise a little more care. You might try using it for building out some new features, testing them out, doing some A/B testing and so on. But then you might want to hand it back to your teams to then say, okay, you know what, this is, there's this guy by the name of Frederick Brooks. He wrote a book called The Mythical Man Month years ago. And one of the things that he talks about when you're building software is, he says that you should build one to throw away. Basically, when you are building and you're starting and you're just discovering what the application is going to be, we often like take that thing and we make it our production app. And his view is you really shouldn't do that because there's a lot of stuff that you got wrong there. There's a lot of things that are not good. What you should do is take the lessons you learn and build the proper application with it. We call that refactoring today, right? I mean, it's like that's kind of what we do, but that's what he was proposing back then. But the problem is, and what's his name? Joel Spolsky wrote an article about this many years ago, saying that, listen, why should you throw it out? You put all this work into it. There are lessons that you learned there. There's, he called it Band-Aid programming. It's, there's nothing wrong with it. Band-Aids fix cuts, right? So just use it, continue working with it, and see where it goes. So hang on one second here. My point, though, is that, I think when you have this opportunity to throw one away, when you have these LLMs that can build things very, very quickly, you have more of a chance now to say, all right, you know what, this is not production code, but it's good enough to get the idea out there so that I can hand it back over. Now I have a more refined spec, so to speak, and professional engineers that are going to be maintaining this code going forward can take the idea and then build out around it and put it into form that will be maintainable, understandable, readable, things that can be managed by staff for the lifetime of that thing that we're building. So anyway, that's kind of my take on where the opportunity might be there. But I think we should walk away from this AI stuff for a little bit.
I really want to just really super quick one closing, because I think at the end of the day, what is going to be same like as you were surprised last time with our vibe coding, what it can do. Somebody's going to make similar demo to a manager, and the manager is going to be, wow, we can replace our programmers. Let's do this.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see this long run term where that's a great idea for the moment, and then it turns out to be a mistake, right? So, but yeah, we could go on and on forever here, but we have other things. I think there was a really interesting deep dive into the behavior of Node. Is that correct?
Not only Node, but also basically Chrome, because it's a deep dive into the V8 engine, or part of the V8 engine. And V8 is actually the engine that fuels Node.js, which is why this is always relevant to us.
So what was this about?
Yeah, so let me just tell you first for who is this for. This is definitely for those who wants to get their hands dirty and take a look deep under the hood. And it's about basically the improvements, or the recent improvements of the compilers in Node.js. So let me summarize this, because it's a very long article. It's going very in-depth into very low-level things also. And the base for you to start with this is the following. 12 years ago, the V8 team introduced a tool named Crankshaft, which is the backbone of their high-performance compiler for the V8 engine, which is one of the key things that differentiate V8 from other engines in terms of performance. And they used a specific control flow graph paradigm, which is called the sea of nodes. This is actually from graph theory and so on. And now they found out, after those years summarizing, reviewing, and retrospectively, it may not be the best for JavaScript. And they switched to another one. And this whole article goes into the how and why. And if this is something that interests you, then this is a good start also to get deeper into this entire V8 ecosystem. Because what's happening there, this is so far away from what we do every day when we write applications with Meteor that we may not have any relation to what's happening there. And especially if we don't work on the more lower levels, on the more node side of things, which is why if you're interested in that, this is definitely a great read. And if you don't interested in that, then you can be sure at least that the V8 team is currently doing their best to even more improve the performance, which will come back to node performance as well. So maybe there will be one of those great performance comparisons we are also covered in former episodes in the future, where node is now back in the game and being way more competitive than it was. And it is still, right? It's still highly competitive, so I don't want to blame anything here. Just for you to know, this is continuing to improve.
I think this is important in the sense that we have these, Node and Bun and Dino fights going on in terms of what's the better runtime. And obviously, Meteor.js is built on top of Node. I don't think there's been a port yet, viable port yet, to either Bun or Dino. So it's kind of interesting to see how things work. Storyteller, what's going on? Oh yeah, we need this, folks. If you enjoy what we're doing and you like the fact that we're doing this, by the way, Storyteller's done a lot of work to make our stuff here a little more sexy. So, you could see we're getting better visuals and so on. Just hit that like button. Let us know you appreciate the work that we do. We really need that to keep us going forward. It really encourages us, so that would be great. And with that, I think we're going to move on to the Meteor News. Okay. And let's bring it back. All right.
Yeah. So Meteor News is sponsored by Meteor Universe, which we'll talk about later as well. So let's jump right into it. First of all, we have announcements from the Vasco team that they have released Uniforms version 4, which they maintained. They've incorporated Zod for validation and rendering, and they've reached 2,000 GitHub stars. Uniforms, if you don't know, is similar to Autoforms, allows you to create forms, validate them, submit them, all that stuff. If you can go to uniforms.tools to learn more about it. It's one of the bigger Meteor originated projects, and I think they've also spanned outside of Meteor as well. So definitely check that out, especially if you are having issues with forms. Next, on the community Slack, Kelly has announced that he has released a beta for community packages React Router SSR. So if you want the server-side rendering, now is your chance to try it out in the beta, or if you're using the previous version, to upgrade to see what's working, what's not working. It has, it's with full data hydration and ability to render components that contain suspense boundaries. He also has the simple demo available, which is, I believe, in this link. And just a word of warning, it's not yet ready for React 19, but it's for Meteor 3. So that's the big thing. And that's on that. Now, a bit more of a fun. I've got contacted by these guys, and what they are doing, or it's called MD5 Records. And what they're doing is they're taking the commit history of, in this case, Meteor project, and making that into a vinyl record, and you can customize it and do some other stuff. So if you are into these retro things, then I would highly recommend that you give it a look, especially because part of the proceeds goes back to the developers. So it's not just for Meteor, but for other projects as well. So Alim, do you want to expand your collections?
I still have a record player, so I mean, I could consider it. I was looking at the site. It's kind of wild. You go in, and if you want to, depending on the project you have, you could point your GitHub repo at it, and then they'll ingest that and then create the record. You can create the sleeves. It's nice. It's very interesting. It's different.
What about you, Jan? You kind of strike me also as someone who would have a vinyl collection.
So I still need some more explanation on what I can do with it.
You can play it.
Yeah, it's a funky music, so not something I enjoy, and then it's mostly what I would say, and the only reason I would consider buying this is a collection piece that you can display and kind of show that you are into open source.
I just wonder, so I can decide which music is pressed on, but it's using the hashes for the design, or what, or is it using the hashes to generate tones that are pressed on the music?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The result might be totally weird and
yes, exactly. They have on their homepage, they have like a sample. So if you are, I think, into music like I think Daft Punk and similar stuff, then you'll be right at home. If they could maybe make it that they kind of put it through some AI that would generate like a classical or orchestral music, then that would be super exciting for me. But we'll probably see. Maybe if some of you guys can get it and tell us how it looks. But I want to move. Or go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, I want to kind of come back to Meteor code specifically. We already kind of talked about performance, and the next version or two of Meteor, the feature versions, will be focused on performance improvements. Meteor 3.2 has landed a bundle profiling tool and general CPU profiling tool, and there are additional topics on the forums that detail more of the work that's going on. And especially if you have big application, they're asking you to create a profile out of your startup and all the build process to kind of see where are the slowdowns, what's not going as well, so that they can continue to improve the performance in the startup and rebuild areas. And that's exactly what Meteor 3.3 and probably 3.4 are going to focus. There's quite a few pull requests open on GitHub. Actually, I just checked earlier today, and quite a few of them have been merged. So it's going to get more interesting in that regard. And it's also a lot of first steps towards having, for example, Vite included inside Meteor. So give this a look. And for final story of the day, Meteor Desktop version 4 release candidate is out. So Meteor Desktop is Meteor integrated into Electron. Sadly, it doesn't get as much love as we would like it to, and maybe in the future we'll see replacement with capacitor or something similar. But if you are using a Meteor Desktop, or if you want to kind of have Meteor on the desktop like in an application, then this project is for you. please check it out. Give us your feedback, and if possible, maybe a PR which can fix something. And yeah,
we need to tell people what to do.
so the links here go to the repository, which will have all the information how to install and kind of test things out. And finally, before we go into the topic, don't forget to also subscribe so that you get all the notification about all of our upcoming programming.
Okay. All right, and here we go. Hey guys,
I've already seen.
Are you spotting those Meteor applications out there?
Yeah, some are running pretty fast.
We're on Meteor Safari again, aren't we?
Yep.
Oh my God, I found a big one. But it's moving pretty fast. Oh.
All right, folks. So anyway, this time around, we are just going to be talking about some of the applications that are built out with MeteorJS that you may not know about, you might not have encountered before. And this is us sharing with you our experience of finding some of these applications. We're going to explain why we think they're worth looking at, and you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to continue building or start building with MeteorJS. And with that, I think Storyteller, you were the first to capture your kill, huh?
Yes. So first, to get started, we have JustDo, which you might have seen around, I could say, a lot. Let me just open the website as well. They have been doing a lot with Meteor recently. They've migrated with help of AI to Meteor 3. JustDo is the all-purpose project management platform. So, Trello, GitHub issues, Jira, and all the other things integrated into one. Let me just quickly check if I have.
I think the Meteor team just recently interviewed the folks here, right? So there's a video as a case study video on this. So that's which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, and it's also this application is code available, so you can actually go in and check the code out and even run it on your own server, provided, and you can even resell it. And you can see here it has a lot of plugins here, and and they are still continuing improving. So it's quite big. Highly recommended. If this is something that you want to do or check out. So one of the, let's say, Trello, Trello alternatives that has a lot of additional things built in, as you can see here in this in this video. So it has everything that you would expect from a tool like this.
So it's a pretty complex application that's built with MeteorJS.
Exactly, which is also why things like upgrading, making big upgrades like going to Meteor 3 is not something that will come easily and lightly. So definitely interesting case study, and as you can see, it runs pretty snappily. And we have also it's not just Meteor, but also through that making sure that the front end is performant as well. And right now, on top of my head, I don't remember if they are using React or Blaze. Something is telling me they might still be potentially using Blaze, but you can see there's a lot of drag and drop, which is going to be performance performance heavy, especially once you get into a lot of those things. So definitely highly recommend that. Check it out. If you need something like this for project management,
Sure.
or if you want to kind of learn more for optimization and performance area.
Okay. I wanna get to our friend Kuster here, because Kuster has a time limit with us today. So Kuster, what app did you find that that you thought was worth chatting
I
about?
spotted something here that is running around in the crypto realm, which is usually already considered deprecated by many people, but it's very interesting to see that this is still running around. It's peer-to-panel. It's a platform that tokenizes solar panels into NFTs, and now everybody's jumping around like, oh my god, that's all a scam here around. But it's a little bit different actually, and it might even have been built on the NFT marketplace example app once. The thing is, what it does is it is allowing you to invest into solar panels and making your shares basically NFTs, or you're buying NFTs to get shares. So it's a little bit like a accessibility thing. Make it accessible to buy shares in this particular, like a social investing thing, but with a technology that younger people, for example, might be used to. And it's based off on Meteor, but it's still Meteor 2. So maybe it hasn't got updated in a while, or they're still stuck on the Meteor 2. Yeah, interesting to see. I currently don't know if it's really putting off as a business, because I haven't seen it around before. But I think it's awesome to see new kind of ideas, because I've thought about that, making some useful stuff with NFTs. For me, that was always like either it's a scam scheme, or it's just money hyping, investment hyping people to give their money. But here, in that case, it's actually a real application where NFTs play just one role in that thing. So,
Storyteller, can you pull up the site for a second so we could see? Do we have it? Storyteller?
I think he's doing it already.
Yes, I'm on it.
Build.peer2panel.com. Let's see.
Yeah. So it's not the prettiest thing, right? But it's this is what it looks like. These are all NFT representations. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of these are in Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I think it's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
I think this is a really, really interesting idea. So if you guys are interested in seeing a combination of crypto and Meteor and distributed finance, or what is it, decentralized finance, whatever they call it, right? DeFi implementation, I'd go check it out. I think it's worth taking a look at. Wow. Yeah, I stay away from crypto most of the time, honestly. I just don't understand it, But this kind of makes sense, in the sense that what they're doing is they're trying to create an economic opportunity from something that doesn't really have a market in most places, and make it accessible to people that usually don't have access to those kinds of markets. It's like collateralized obligations that only like big bankers get access to, and I think it's great that they're able to do something like this. So hopefully it is not a scam, and it is it's good. But I like the idea. I like the innovation. So by the way, we have that, and now I got to tell you, that's finance, what do we see before? We saw finance, we saw project management, and now the Bluehive is, I think this is from one of your friends, Storyteller. It's one of his companies. And Bluehive is a healthcare app. When I think of healthcare apps, like the first person that comes to mind is Abigail Watson. And, Abigail Watson had a company called Symptomatic.io, and their apps were built on top of Meteor, and they used a thing called Clinical Meteor, and then it became Fire, I think it was called. It just kept on evolving. And I think now she's moved on to something else because I can't find Symptomatic anymore. But what I did find was in this space Bluehive. And Bluehive is another type of healthcare application that instead focuses on occupational healthcare management. Now, I didn't know what that was, but it turns out it's a tool for managing people who are working in the healthcare industry, right? So this is what Bluehive looks like. And I think, by the way, that this is one of those sites where it's fronted with WordPress. So what we're seeing here is WordPress. But when we go to the login and you get to the login area, then that is where the app lives. And that all of this here is Meteor. So from here on in to the application, it's running on MeteorJS, but fronting the traffic from the internet, it's WordPress. And on top of WordPress, they also use a technique of caching pages in CloudFront. So there's some strategies that are at play here. I think that's one of the reasons why you might want to go check these sites out, is not just to see what they do, like the industry that they're in, the domain that they're covering, but you can also find out a little bit about how they've put it together. And with some detection tools, you can kind of understand how it is that they've got such a performant application.
I mean, Alim, I think this is a common pattern, or at least I have observed it in some wild Meteor apps running around here, that there is this landing page built with something else while the application is on a subdomain. And so the advantage is clear. You can update your landing page with new information without having to rebuild your application, because why you should have to rebuild your application? Or just imagine you would have to build an entire management or administration panel into your application just to get some information on the landing page updated. So I think this is definitely a pattern that people want to adopt.
Yeah, I think this is a good best practice. So, and I noticed that I did not do my producer thing and switch on to us while we were talking, which would have been the appropriate thing for me to do while we were having this discussion. But let's keep on moving with this right now. I think Storyteller has a really interesting site that he's found.
Yeah, Sékr. I hope that's how it's pronounced. So if you are going safari in America, you need to find a spot where you might want to kind of settle down for the night, or maybe where is the nearest water, recycling bins, all that stuff. So that's what Sékr provides for America. As you can see, I have here for the Belay campground. It offers the information about it, pictures that people upload, reviews, all those things. And the centerpiece of this app is this huge map where you can click and kind of scroll around. Primarily, I believe, North America. That's where you have all of these things, and it has also some quite remote ones. I found some in the middle of nowhere, and also has a lot of information like cell coverage, directions, which will give you there. And in the middle of nowhere, there was direction. Just go down this road. At this point, turn left, and then you are there in the middle of nowhere. A lot of fun. So that's kind of the main purpose of this. But of course, it can, there are events, and there's a lot of other, you can connect with other people and establish connection as you would expect. So it has also the social aspects of it. The thing is, this is written in Meteor 2.16. It's a React app. As you can see, it loads super fast despite all the data and everything. So it's really cool. I really like it. If you remember, one of the first examples of applications was using data on the maps and displaying on the maps. So I found it like super cool that this kind of continues that tradition.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think a pretty cool use, and I love the representation on maps, because if you get it right, then it can be pretty awesome the way it behaves. But if you get it wrong, then you just end up messing up your UI, right? You're just putting too much information all at once. Okay.
I think they do it right. I think it looked very calm and tidy and high quality production grade in my opinion. So big props to the team.
Yeah, it looks like MapReduce is used in this to basically get summary information, aggregate the information about the different locations. Like, oh, there are 13 sites here. You zoom in, and then it breaks it down. There's 7 over here. There's 3 here. There's, whatever it might be, right? It's very cool how it's done and it's implemented. So the thing is, your engineering skills matter, right? You can't rely on the platform to do everything for you. So it's very clear that people have put effort into making it work. It just, don't count on Meteor to do all the work for you. You need to do some work, right? And that's, I think, what it's showing. I love these mapping things. As a matter of fact, I mean, one of the ones that I found is one we know about pretty well, is Illustreets. And Illustreets has been around for a while. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I think the developer of Illustreets is pretty frequent contributor on the he's a pretty frequent contributor on the forums.
Yep.
You're heading to the yeah, and so that's the login. So I'm sorry, hold on one second. Oh my gosh. Computer, lower volume to 1. Sorry about that, guys. This is it gets interrupted every single time, and I keep forgetting. But yeah, this is also another one of those sites where it's fronted with a different application. I don't think the front is actually MeteorJS at all. I believe it is WordPress that's there. So the pattern that we talked about just now, Kuster, is the one that we're observing here again. And what I found very interesting with Illustreets, because I did a little research behind it, and I went and I took a look at all of its subdomains, is for each of its clients, or certainly for different groups, it is running individual instances of the application. So let's say, for instance, you came and you are using Illustreets, you would have your own instance of it running, and then Storyteller would have his own instance of it running. Now, I don't know whether or not that's done for performance purposes or for security purposes, or both. But again, that also is another pattern that you can adopt if you wanted to.
True.
Go ahead.
By the way, Alim, I'm doing that in some of our applications at uni. I'm doing that as well when there are different schools or institutions.
Yeah.
And they want to have their own full access, then they get an own instance. And the advantage also is that you don't, if you can use a shared MongoDB with Meteor, but you're not forced to. You could also use, for example, with Meteor app, you could also deploy everything on one machine. Of course, then the DB is also running on the machine, eating resources, but on the other hand, everything is self-contained. Everything is, and that's coming back to microservices and all that thing, this whole self-containment thing, no dependencies to the outside. It has also advantages if you know when and how to use it.
Well, that model also of, they call it when everybody is in the same app and they're different customers, they call it hoteling, right?
Mhm.
Is how you describe it sometimes. Let me I'm talking and I'm not even showing myself anymore. So yeah, so we have this concept called hoteling where you could have many people or many different organizations sharing the same database, and that can be fine. But you might run into issues like GDPR, for instance, right? Where with something like GDPR, you might have American customers in one side and they have their requirements, but your European customers have a lot of restrictions on where the data can be and what can be done with it. And so that has to be domiciled in its own database that might be in a server someplace else. And you do this because there are different requirements for different areas. And so there could be many reasons why you might want to use this kind of a model. So I think that's really cool, very interesting. And I think Kuster has disappeared for a second here. There you are.
Sorry, I need to leave soon. I just have
Yes. So let's
there's
get right over to the final item that you've discovered that you want to share with us.
yeah. Can you give me a second? I'm back in a second. Sorry.
Okay. Well, why don't we jump over to I guess I'll go on to the next one that I was going to be doing, which is I think one of the things that we've seen is that Meteor is really well suited for online learning applications. We've seen this over and over again. Kuster had built one called Lay Online. Even Felipe, who is the former Meteor CEO, has built a online serving platform called codeftw.dev. And in the past, we had some of the folks that were at Priceline had built their own side hustle, if you want to call it, called classmates.io. So, seeing Meteor being used in a learning environment is something that's pretty common. However, I ran into this one. It's called edvisor.io, I believe. And the edvisor app has been around since 2014. I've never seen this thing before. It's not a learning platform. Rather, it's a sales tool that is used for tracking and managing international student recruitment. So I'm kind of curious to find out later on if we can get in touch with any of these folks, if they use it for any real-time features and how those are being used. But the application that you go in itself to do the sales management, that is built with MeteorJS. And now we'll roll back over to the application that you're talking about, Kuster, roti.express, right?
Yeah.
Get back
So
over.
WordPress is return on time invested. It's a audience response system basically. So maybe you've heard of these kind of systems where you can get a live audience response. And here it's especially about feedback. So it's a platform that allows your users to provide feedback in a very easy and integrated way, and gives you then the way for analytics and review these feedbacks on scale. So let's assume we want to get an insight about our shows after the show or during the show. We can use roti.express and then give people the link and tell them like, hey, please, how did you like, what do you love, what could be improved, and so on. And then there's also a demo, by the way, which you can open as a user feedback. And when you look on view example, yep, let's assume that's a product demo and you want to give feedback now. You can now put your stars in, add some comment, and then you can do a feedback, and for you can see your feedback, you can see the feedback of others, but for the one creating the feedback, they can use the analytics to gain insight about the product. And this is a French-based tool, which is also supporting English and Spanish. And I think, if I'm correct, then the creators also provided roti.express for the Impact conference for one of the Impact conferences in the past.
Yes, that's correct. It was on the last one, and it served as a feedback for the presenters, so they can know how they did. And I'm hoping that we can get them again for this year as well.
I have to be honest, when they offered it and they asked us all to sign up and use it, I was not quite sure what the heck it is, because I see this bone and meat, and I was very, very confused.
I have, with bone and meat, I always have the association with some video games where this is giving your character, like, sometimes there are these little pieces of power you can get to increase your health, and then you get this like bone and meat, and then it increases your health like to the full extent. So this is something I got associated with. But maybe it's a French word or something that.
Yes, from my understanding, actually, roti stands for is acronym for the method that is being used, but also in French, it actually literally means the meat on the bone.
Yeah.
So at least that's what I remember.
So for me, for me, like, roti is a kind of a flatbread that Indians make.
I mean, this is where programming gets really philosophical, and so you see what wild animals we see here outside. It's getting even philosophical.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I think one of the things that we're going to bring to the table here to talk about is, Jan, you've got, I asked you to talk a little bit about yours too, because, although we're always talking about how it's a sponsor, people I don't think necessarily know that it's built with Meteor. And how long ago was it? And,
Yeah, so the initial idea at this point for the universe is over 15 years old. The form, it for today, really started emerging about 10 years ago. Initially, I have actually the over there, that's my master's thesis that has all the philosophical and technical, all that stuff behind it written down. And it's a huge platform for creative writing. And it has a lot of features, so it's very difficult, for me to describe in a short way. For us, in this context, technically, it's running the latest Meteor, the latest React, also with Apollo GraphQL as well, to speed certain things out. And this is actually where in the future, if I can get the funding and everything, there is actually going to be more of a split in the application itself. So what I'll be showing shortly, or actually I can probably start jumping on that right now, is this is kind of the writing editor, and this is one of the core features, is that you have the writing editor, or you see something very similar when you are reading stories, where you can, of course, write, but you also have all the other things here in what I call the magical aside, all the other things. So you have integrated encyclopedia, you see comments from your beta readers or readers, and you can do all the other things, like having your scratch pad here and overviews and what's your target audience. So you can also remind, you can tweak that, and in the near future we'll also be adding some more AI assistants. That's a chapter on its own. So big thing here, of course, and then is as I just did, I've selected a word here, and I've connected to database. And when I click on it, or into encyclopedia, it shows me the entry in the encyclopedia, and I can also add here, edit it. So it's kind of getting everything that you need in writing connected into one tool. This is the writing part. So everything here is publication subscriptions. But then once you go to the readers part, where you don't really need the real-time data, it switches to GraphQL and fetches it, only only once as you need it. And in the future, what I'm planning is to kind of separate the reading part in its own app, so that will be much more focused on having high volume of people coming in and reading. Also, offline is going to be a big part of that, while moving this writing and say the creative part, separating it on its own app that will be then running still on Meteor, and it will then be focused strictly only on people who need that. So that way I can then optimize the reading part for high volume people, and this one I can focus on features and other fun stuff.
So I got to say, you could probably go on with this forever and ever. I mean, there's quite a bit here, but
I've just shown only one feature. There is at least 30, 40 others that I can just talk.
But let's talk about it on a high level. So does it make use of a lot of the community packages?
Yes. In the background, for example, I'm using almost all of the socialized packages.
Mm-hmm.
Let me let's just open it here to kind of have I can kind of get an overview. You don't see it because I'm sharing the browser.
Yeah.
But let me quickly kind of take a big look into packages. So socialized packages, a lot of the official packages as well. You will also see, of course, audit packages around collection 2 and simple schema. Pretty much almost all of the account and a lot of the other account. I actually created 3 new all-out systems for this, and I have 3 or so others in works as well. Actually, sorry, 4 all-out packages. So for Japanese line, for Discord, Beta Pass, that's an Indonesian thing. Check Seznam and few others, and a lot of other smaller things here. There, another big thing is, of course, is internationalization and localization.
Yeah.
That's a big part. So that's all in here. So
that's now, is your source code is not available, right? Or is it available? No. But it's a pretty big and complex application that's been built over the years, and I'm sure Meteor has helped get that done with these packages, that it would have been a lot more complicated or required a lot more development if you had to build all of those things by hand, correct? And some of those packages, like Socialize, you worked on with Kelly, correct?
Yes, I've provided some PRs right now. I have, I think, on almost all of them, or at least the ones I use, I have a pull request for Meteor 3 upgrade. So that's available. Thing to mention also, I'm using the Jam packages as well. So that's all included there. And sometimes it's kind of a bit juggling, and then there's still a lot of legacy code that needs love and upgrading as well. So it's a lot of things going on there.
Sounds awesome. All right, listen, I mean, we're at the hour mark, and I think we want to give people back their time. So why don't we get down to the end of things? Do we have any reminders or any notifications? I guess we should have a reminder for Impact, shouldn't we?
Yes, so let's skip our useful resources. Do have a reminder for Meteor Impact. Guys, remember, Impact is coming up. I am open, or it's open for so-called requests for papers, which means, if you have like a talk or a presentation you would like to give, there's a form that you can, send me all the details. I'll be happy to take a look at it, and if it fulfills all the criteria included. Also, you can sign up for the newsletter, which in effect is signing up for the conference, because then you will get the link. And if we get enough sponsors, which we are also open up for, then we won't have to charge any. We will be able to keep things open and available for everybody. So,
and just a reminder to people who, or for the people that are coming for the first time that don't know what Impact is. Impact is a MeteorJS specific conference. I think this year you're also not charging, is what it sounds like.
that is my hope, if we can get enough sponsors and interest. So though if we don't get enough sponsors, then I will have to figure out some way how to pay for the services used. So yeah, still to be determined. And that's why you should also make sure that you sign up there for the newsletter, so you know how things are evolving.
Okay, all right. And with that, is there anything else that we want to do before we go?
No, that's it.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you have any suggestions on what we should do next, we'd love to hear them. Let's see. We have a note from Kelly saying, please charge for Impact. So I'm assuming Kelly doesn't mean please charge for this podcast that we're doing. So, that would be a whole different thing altogether. But again, thank you guys for joining us and being with us this week and watching the show. We really enjoy doing this work for you. And consider subscribing to the channel. We're up to 338. We're 2 away from 340, 12 away from 350. So let's get to those numbers, guys. We know that there are a lot of you out there that come and watch, and it's just a button to hit, just a button, and it'll make us feel really, really good about continuing to do this. And with that, I'm going to say, hey, folks, have have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next Friday. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.